Lewis Hamilton had achieved almost everything in Formula One: 7 world championships, 100 race wins, and many consider him to be the greatest of all time. Still, there was one dream in Formula One that Lewis Hamilton was almost ready to give up on. With his 40th birthday fast approaching, he must have felt that it might just be too late to drive for Ferrari. Then, a couple of years ago, the call came out of nowhere. Would the most successful Formula One driver of all time consider joining the most illustrious team in Formula One? It was an offer Lewis Hamilton simply could not refuse. More than a year later, a rejuvenated Lewis Hamilton is finally set to make his Ferrari debut at this weekend's season opener in Australia. And every step he takes in his new job seems to turn back the clock on a career that has spanned nearly 20 years. Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur says he has that enthusiasm of someone discovering Formula One for the very first time. His excitement since he first toured the team's factory at Maranello has been palpable, if only because Hamilton's Italian Renaissance once seemed so far-fetched. The driver, who moonlights as a global fashion icon, has worn all manner of outrageous outfits to F1 circuits, from head-to-toe Barbie pink to neon zebra print, but no one ever expected him to come to work in the famous red overalls. Hamilton spent over 10 years at Mercedes, where he won 6 world championships. Plus, he just signed a 2-year contract to remain with the team despite its sputtering form. Lewis Hamilton has always been regarded as a company man. The only wrinkle was that his new deal came with an opt-out after the 2024 season. That was all Ferrari needed to make a bold, spectacularly expensive gamble. He'd hoped to drive for Ferrari one day for the past 20 years. He had that in him, Vasseur says, and I could see from my end that it wasn't going great at Mercedes. So the planets were aligned. More than a simple driver transfer, Ferrari and Hamilton both knew that the switch represented a merger between two of the biggest brands in the sport of Formula One. On one side was the only team that has participated in every single Formula One season since the series began in 1950. On the other was a slick ambassador who moved easily from grease-stained garage to Paris catwalk and happened to be among the greatest racers ever to squeeze into a cockpit. Some regard him to be the greatest of all time. What these two had in common is that both were a little further removed from their peaks than they would ideally like it. Ferrari's last Constructors' Championship came in 2008, while it was plain to see that Hamilton was feeling jaded at Mercedes. Is it me or is it the car? Do you still have it? Has it gone? Lewis Hamilton wondered aloud in 2023. Hamilton had not won a world title since 2020 and nearly quit the sport altogether when he lost the 2021 championship to Max Verstappen of Red Bull under controversial circumstances in the final lap of the final race of the season at Abu Dhabi. At one point, he went almost 3 years without a single race victory until he broke the streak last summer at Silverstone. With younger, seemingly hungrier drivers now duking it out at the front of the grid, it was fair to wonder whether Lewis Hamilton was finished. Some of the comments that have come out over my career, it's not just been this past 12 months or so, I just use that as fuel, the 40-year-old Lewis Hamilton said this month. Living out his boyhood dream helps too. Though his Italian remains limited, Lewis Hamilton has spent the past few months consuming Ferrari lore like a bowl of spaghetti. He has visited Enzo Ferrari's house and driven the iconic test track at Fiorano. He tells anyone who will listen that his all-time favorite road car is the F40. Every time he's been to Maranello, he feels the weight of history. Frederic Vasseur said, if you're on the pit wall, you are giving 100% whether your car is blue, white, green or red. Where Ferrari is different is when you get back to the factory and you feel the passion of the people, it's like nowhere else. This isn't a racing team, it's a national team. Lewis Hamilton's mission now is to bring glory back to the Scuderia Ferrari, alongside his teammate Charles Leclerc of Monaco, before wholesale regulation changes shuffle the pack in 2026, though he understands that heartbreak remains a real possibility. The team, which finished second last year behind McLaren, has had plenty of near misses and own goals during one of the longest dry spells in the history of Ferrari since Enzo Ferrari first slapped a prancing horse on a shiny red car. If Hamilton does break the hoodoo, he would become the first man ever to win 8 Formula One world titles, surpassing Ferrari legend Michael Schumacher. He would also become the oldest champion in nearly 70 years. But Vasseur, who first worked with Hamilton in a development series in 2005, believes that he is as sharp as he's ever been. He is one of the only drivers who really knows how to compartmentalize his life. Vasseur says he can spend one day doing marketing, the next day doing fashion, and the third discussing his front left tire with an engineer. How quickly Hamilton can turn that into podium finishes will become clear in the coming months. Ferrari is betting it won't take that long for him to adapt. This is not the first time Lewis Hamilton has wrenched the wheel into a surprising turn. Back in 2013, he stunned the sport by leaving McLaren, one of the sport's most storied teams, the team he had first joined as a teenager, in order to join a very struggling Formula One outfit called Mercedes. Everyone thought the move was strange, Vasseur said. It was hard for him to leave, but he did it for the right reasons. He's always looked ahead. But a little caveat here. Very few successful Formula One drivers have moved to Ferrari after having established themselves as world champions and become even more successful with Ferrari, especially in terms of winning world titles. The only name that comes to mind at this point is Michael Schumacher, who had 2 titles with Benetton and went on to win 5 titles with Ferrari. Legends like Alain Prost, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso also made moves to Ferrari with the hopes of winning. They did win races, and there was a honeymoon period where everyone thought it was working out, but it ended in acrimony. None of these 3 legends were able to secure a world title with Ferrari. Will Lewis Hamilton's story with Ferrari be any different? Watch this space.